Are you considering using the DDP terms for your shipment? Is it your first time importing products to the US? Be careful with DDP terms traps you don't know. What are DDP traps and how to avoid them? Hello. We are Avoid Logistics, an international freight forwarder located in Southern California, USA. Think of Avoid as another word for help. In international trade, a company could be losing control of their shipments and increasing their costs dramatically if they are using the wrong Incoterm. Let's don't play a game that you don't understand its rules. It's the fastest way to lose money. The first step in the international trade journey is understanding Incoterms, the responsibility involved for each party, and to select the most advantageous term for your business strategy. What's Incoterms? Incoterms are a series of universal commercial terms that sellers and buyers of goods agree to during international transactions. Each commercial term includes a standard list of risks, costs, and responsibilities. There are 11 types of Incoterms and they are classified into 4 groups: Group E, Group F, Group C, and Group D. We made 2 videos on this topic. Make sure to check the links on the video description. We can say DDP, as known as Delivered Duty Paid, is the most favorite trade terms for new importer. Because under the DDP term agreement, the seller is responsible for the shipment at all points, from the supplier warehouse until the goods reach the final destination warehouse, or buyer warehouse. For instance, they need to pay the transportation cost, import duty and taxes, both origin and destination country, customs and tariffs, trucking, unloading in some cases, and all other applicable import formalities. The seller will need to provide all import documents needed in this process, including commercial invoice, packing list, bill of lading, duty report, and proof of delivery, plus they have to take responsibility if any delays on the shipment. Is DDP terms the best trade term ever for a buyer? Let me stop you there. When it comes to Incoterms, US importers and China sellers often choose DDP, Delivered Duty Paid, for their first shipments. Until something goes wrong, most businesses are unaware of the negative consequences that can cause from using DDP. Let's discuss the advantages and disadvantages of importer and supplier when using the DDP term. For importer, we see 4 main problems an importer can meet on their shipment. No control over supply chain visibility. ISF penalties and fines. Wrong HTS code and import duties. Shipment delays. No control over supply chain visibility. Under the DDP agreement, the supplier or seller will take responsibility for transportation, including inland movement and international movement. The seller will hire a freight forwarding company in their country to move your cargo. Usually their freight forwarder will hire another forwarder in the destination country to handle the shipment when it reaches the US port or destination port. Whenever you need the status of your shipment, your supplier needs to contact several parties to give you the answer. And don't forget the time zone difference between the origin country and destination country. For example, China and US. China is 13 hours ahead of New York, so you will need at least 2 to 3 days to get your cargo status. The party who controls your goods movement is the seller's forwarder, but good luck on contacting them. All information of your cargo you get is through seller, but you cannot be sure if they are telling you the truth or not. We recommend you to ask your seller for a tracking number, and ask them how you can track your cargo online. ISF penalties and fines. Importer Security Filing, ISF, also known as 10+2, is a Customs and Border Protection (CBP) requirement for all ocean cargo imports to the United States. The filing documents import information and details as shipments move from point to point. It must be delivered to CBP at least 24 hours before the vessel carrying the shipment is due to make their final departure to the US. Since you are using the DDP term for your shipment, seller's forwarder will take responsibility for ISF filing. If they fill ISF incorrectly or late filing, unfortunately you, the importer, will take responsibility for these issues when you have no control of this action. Follow CBP rules. Without control in place, your company is exposed to some expensive penalties. $5,000 per violation and up to $10,000 per shipment. Wrong HTS code and import duties. Have you ever received a letter from or a call from Customs Border Protection (CBP) notifying you that your cargo has been held for inspection, and you need to pay full duty for your shipment? The reason is vary, but it may be because you are using the wrong HTS code for your product. Some importers don't know what HTS code is or which HTS code is applied for their cargo, especially when they are using DDP term, because the seller will pay all import duties and tax for them. In some cases, the seller will use the incorrect HTS code for your product to avoid high duties tax, and it can lead to inspection at US ports or your cargo being held at CBP. HTS, Harmonized Tariff Schedule, or HTS US code, is a system used to classify goods imported into the US, and is based on the global HS code system used to classify trade goods worldwide. Each HTS code will have a different import duties rate and specific import requirements. Depending on the HTS code of your product, US Customs and CBP will apply import duties, anti-dumping, duty trade war, and any fees, requirements related that you need to pay. Shipment delays. Even if you are lucky to avoid all problems I mentioned above, there is one more problem that most importers will meet: shipment delays. I mean, there is no guarantee that if you use another trade term beside DDP, you will not meet this problem. But remember, under DDP term you have no control over transportation. There are different levels of logistics service. The higher you pay, the better logistics service you get. There are two factors that need to be considered: freight rate and transit time. Lower rates have long transit time plus delays, and vice versa. To keep their costs down, many sellers choose the lowest cost services for transportation. Cheaper transport for the seller usually translates to delivery delays for the buyer. When shipment delay is the main problem for the importer, the main problem for sellers under DDP term is the hidden cost or unanticipated costs. Under DDP, the seller must absorb the costs associated with customs clearance. This includes any storage or demurrage charges incurred due to delays by customs clearance, delivery drivers, and air or ocean carriers. Since these are unanticipated costs, they can quickly eat into your profits or completely negate them. Seller assumes all the risk. While DDP is a good Incoterm for buyers who know the total transportation cost, it imposes the highest risk of loss on sellers, because they have to assume all charges to the point of delivery. This does give the seller control over the shipment, but it also means they are responsible for the goods from the time of purchase until they reach their port of destination and are ready for unloading. There is a vast range of variables to be considered along the supply chain that can cost your company substantial amounts of money should anything go wrong. When it comes to US shipment, the drayage fees is the most expensive part. There are many additional costs besides the trucking charge from point A to point B, especially with import containers. We made a video to explain why is domestic trucking in the US so expensive. Make sure to check out our video for more detail. You can find the link on the video description or on our YouTube channel. We hope this video was helpful for you before you choose the right trade term for your shipment. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact us. Please follow our Facebook page